Yeah. Pro Fan Sports Podcast. Let's get it. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam. John on the mic, very flat too. Keep you updated, that's what we do. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam.
It's your boy John Altidor with Pro Fan Sports Podcast. Back at you with another one, and today I got my boy Barry. Usually Vlad, we miss you. We'll see you next week. But today, man, we couldn't do this show without bringing, some guests from two of the Super Bowl hosting cities, right? We got Dmac from Mac Wake Media Podcast and Chips for the Birds of the All About the Birds podcast, man. And thank you guys for coming. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Well,
Super Bowl week.
I'm excited.
Super Bowl.
Finally here, man. Can't get it soon enough.
Yes. I love the energy, fellas. Love the energy. That's how we start this podcast. So that's what's up. Super Bowl week. LFG, let's go.
The body's on the line, man. Let's go.
We were talking, before we started recording about, how we are a Massachusetts podcast, so of course the Patriots and, we have two of our biggest rivals, coming on this show. And, it's a good thing we're not playing you guys because we absolutely shit the bed this season. We love seeing your prospective teams go into the big game coming up here on Sunday. I think, this week, two really deserving teams are going into the games. I think for me, I thought the Bengals were going to pull it out, but you know what? KC, did their thing and they pulled it out. And I think, they're a deserving team. And I thought the Eagles were going to get it. I didn't think it was going to be that easy. But obviously some unfortunate things happen. At least we got one really good game in KC and the Bengals. And now we're here, fellas. How you guys feeling, going into this week?
Well, I think that Dmac should go first since he's the visiting team on Sunday. So I'm gonna throw it to him before I brag, home style.
Yeah, no, look, I feel great going into this game, man. It's been a little bit of an interesting path, obviously, starting all the way back in the offseason with Tyreek Hill trade and everything that came with the conversation surrounding that and expectations coming into this season, the way that this team has kind of been remolded on both sides of the ball, really. It was a young team this entire year, and now we're here and we're seeing the playoff kind of experience kind of come together for these young guys, and they're showing up when it matters most. And so I feel like we're peaking at the right time going to Arizona. I'm really excited for what I'm looking at top to bottom on this roster.
So I know you wouldn't get the vibe of this nationally because apparently the Philadelphia Eagles are the weakest NFC representatives in the history of football. I don't want to remind you that the Chicago Bears made a Super Bowl in the last decade or so. But this Philadelphia Eagles team, from the minute they lost to Tampa Bay in the postseason last year, which we didn't belong in the postseason, we were a 7 seed. We didn't belong. Thanks for letting us play. Jalen Hurts came flat out and said, "This team is close. You don't realize." Since that minute, this Philadelphia Eagles team has been the best team in football. I think only the people in Philadelphia realize that, and they keep moving the goalpost on us, right? So going into the NFC Championship, it was everyone was saying, this is a great matchup. The 49ers and the Eagles, they match up so well. It's going to be a great. And then we beat the hell out of the 49ers. And you can say Brock Purdy and all that. That team doesn't win even if Brock Purdy plays the whole game. The Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in football. And on Sunday, we have a chance to prove it. And then we can be the weakest Super Bowl champions in the history of the NFL, because that'll be the next commentary. It's exhausting. Look, 5 years ago, right? I just have to say this. 5 years ago, we got this whole underdog mentality. We had the masks. Now we have an offensive lineman brand of clothing with it. The speech at our victory parade was, "No one likes us. We don't care. It's the whole team. They keep trashing us. It's this all over again. except the team is so much better. The Eagles should not have beaten the Patriots 5 years ago in the Super Bowl. The Patriots were a far better team. We caught lightning in a bottle. Point blank, we caught lightning in a bottle.
Facts.
This weekend, the Eagles are the best team on that field.
Yeah. No, I think 5 years ago also, Bill Belichick was making crazy ass decisions, sitting our best corner.
Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
We had a Matt Patricia calling fucking plays on defense and
right. He was our defensive coordinator. No wonder why they dropped 40 points on us and freaking picked us apart and carved us up like a Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah.
With a backup quarterback. With a backup quarterback.
Definitely.
Nick Foles freaking cooked us up that game.
For real. Brady threw for what, 500 and we still lost? It was
crazy.
It was
a Super Bowl record, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. But we're not here to talk about the Patriots. We got 6 of them things, man, and we shit ourselves this season, with the hiring and letting Matt Patricia call plays.
Offensive plays this time.
I know. And that was even worse.
You guys had really high functioning teams. KC, they lost the cheetah to the Dolphins this year and still put up massive fucking.
That was crazy.
And then Jalen Hurts, man, he's different. I think he has a good mix of passing and running ability, and he put it together this year, man. Going into this weekend, what do you guys think are the strengths of your teams and the weaknesses? Since Dmac went first, Chip, you want to take this one?
So, unlike that team 5 years ago, for the first time, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I have no stats to back this up, but for the first time in Super Bowl history, in my mind, we are starting 22 of 22 opening day starters in the Super Bowl.
That's amazing.
If you think about the team that won the Super Bowl 5 years ago, we had a piecemeal offensive line. We had backup quarterbacks, backup this, backup that, and we somehow managed to win the game. This team is the team that left training camp as the starters, and we've only gotten better. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. The strength of our team is our health. It's the underdog mentality. We have a fire. And there's so many cool storylines. I mean, Andy Reid coached for us for 14 years before he went to KC. I mean, the Kelsey brothers, that's a cool storyline. Having two of the first black quarterbacks to both start a game in the Super Bowl. There's so many cool storylines. This is a great Super Bowl. But this Eagles team, the strength of our team is our leadership in Jalen Hurts. The idea of, our starters and their backups who are ready to take their roles being equally good, ready to roll. I mean, this Eagles team is locked and loaded to do some damage this weekend.
I got to say, man, I love the storylines coming into the Super Bowl. Obviously, Nick Sirianni, a guy that was coaching for us at one time, got fired and now moved on to, other opportunities. Coming to this situation now to be the head coach in the Super Bowl. I love the storylines from the Super Bowl perspective. As far as our team is concerned, like I talked about, the trade of Tyreek Hill informs everything that you've seen with this team moving forward. What you saw last week from us going against the best wide receiver core, in my personal opinion, in the league against the Bengals, that young secondary having to step up after L'Jarius Sneed gets hurt, that is the Tyreek Hill trade. That is a first rounder that you got for Tyreek Hill. That's a 4th rounder, a 7th rounder at corner. That is a third safety in Brian Cook that you took in the 4th round. All of those guys got put into those places and they had to play early on so that they could be ready for that moment. And so I think that you start with obviously Andy Reid, his coaching staff, the ability that they do to teach these guys on a consistent basis. Patrick Mahomes on one side of the ball and Travis Kelce, what they do for your offense as a strength of understanding mismatches, of being able to attack on a consistent basis. This offensive line that was rebuilt by Brett Veach 2 off seasons ago has done a spectacular job at keeping him clean most of the time, and then also allowing our offense to move into a more run-centric type of offense, ability to do that when we need to. And on the defensive side, it's all about those young guys centered around a Defensive Player of the Year candidate and Chris Jones. The ability for him to wreck the game from the inside and then be a chess piece for Steve Spagnuolo to move everywhere, and the development of all the young guys in the back 7 off of them. I've been impressed with our coaching staff's job ability, and I think that stability really from the top of the stars and that coaching staff working with the front office combined has really coalesced this team into what I seem to be now is a complete team. This defense has played very well over the back half of the schedule, and this offense was number one in the league in a lot of metrics for a lot of reasons. So I'm really excited as to where this team has started and now has finished, and I feel like it's peaking at the right moment.
Absolutely, man. I think you guys are completely right. You know, Nick, I mean, Chip, I gotta tell you, man, Nick Sirianni, I didn't see this for him. You know, when you guys I don't know what the Eagles fan base was like. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
So let me tell you, right? So
that opening press conference.
So when we fired Doug Peterson, I was a big fan of the move because, again, I'm like a Cowboys fan, bringing up the past. When we won that Super Bowl, right? Doug Peterson didn't call for one of those iconic plays in NFL Super Bowl history. He didn't call for Philly.
Foles.
Nick Foles came out and was like, "Do you want it?" And Peterson's like, "Well, I think that's a great idea," and he goes for it.
Wow.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, watch that clip back. Do you want Philly? Yeah, let's do it. That's the conversation, right? Yeah. So you look at so they get rid of Doug Peterson and they go on this whole coaching search. And we were talking about, I mean, we wanted, guys like Bieniemy, we wanted Dable, we wanted all these guys, and they hired this no-name to us, Nick Sirianni. And as you mentioned, John, he has the terrible first press conference. Everything, if you actually go and listen to that press conference, he came out very clearly and said, I'm not a systems guy. I've got players. I'm going to know what their strengths are, and we're going to do those things. And true to form, he has done that. If you look at the games that we lost this year, I mean, look, we got beat by whatever Washington is calling their team this year because they were able to get rid of the ball quick. And Jonathan Gannon doesn't press up on the line, so those quick routes. The other two games we lost were with Gardner Minshew at the helm, trying to do Jalen Hurts things.
Not gonna work.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
You're not Jalen Hurts, man.
No, he's not.
You are not Jalen Hurts, sir. You are a respectable backup quarterback, but Jalen Hurts is the quarterback of this team. And even still, it's crazy because even still, people are questioning that. Oh, man, is Jalen Hurts going to be the future? I don't know if this style of play is sustainable. I want to punch fair weather Philly fans so badly. Jalen Hurts has come out and done literally everything right. This was a weakness. He fixed it. Leadership. I haven't seen anyone better in all of my years being an Eagles fan. This Eagles team, Nick Sirianni is a player's coach. These guys love playing for him. CJ Gardner-Johnson came out today talking about how much he loves playing for Sirianni after whatever bum from the Giants talk trash. Like, shut up.
Yeah,
dude, you're a giant.
You're
a giant.
Trash.
I didn't even want to call him by his name. That's how badly I think of him.
We as Patriot fans, we know who he is, unfortunately. Not in a good way. But we unfortunately know the name.
I'm glad
Sirianni he's come out and been this great coach. It's awesome.
I'm glad you mentioned Jalen Hurts' leadership, though. That's probably the biggest thing that I've admired from him starting in college. Obviously, we know the story of him and Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama, how that team had to ask him to come in difficult circumstances and still come in and lead them to an important win. You could just see, man, just the way that he commands that team on a consistent basis, how he's coming to this situation where, last season where there were questions coming off of that Tampa game, and obviously he got to work, improved, and you could tell everybody in that locker room respects him on a high level, and that's not easy to do for veterans. And so he deserves his flowers from that perspective. That's the thing that I love the most about him. And I see that from his perspective. I see a lot of Patrick Mahomes from a leadership perspective as it pertains to Jalen Hurts. And that's the thing that has my utmost respect from him from a quarterback position.
And it's funny that you mention this because I remember, again, I've been an Eagles fan. I'm 36 years old. I've been an Eagles fan my entire life. So I was there when Donovan McNabb was our quarterback, right? And that was when a fellow by the name of Rush Limbaugh decided to say one of the most ignorant pieces of garbage things ever. Why? He can't be a leader. He can't be a passing quarterback. He can't do this. Why? Because he's black.
He's black.
Right? Yeah. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles franchise, right? We have had Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick, Jalen Hurts. We have had some of the greatest black quarterbacks in NFL history.
Even Randall Cunningham can put in.
And Randall Cunningham, and that was just slightly before my time. And Randall Cunningham. So, and they did a whole story about this before. So the fact that Jalen Hurts is now starting to get that respect, like you look at some of his interceptions that he threw this year, they were straight breadbasket interceptions that the defenders ripped away from our wide receivers. Like the numbers are even inflated for his interception side. Jalen Hurts is an incredible NFL quarterback. And I can't wait for him to really show that on a national and international stage this weekend.
Absolutely. Dmac, man, we're talking about Nick Sirianni, but, you guys got a guy on your sideline who's been successful with the Packers, the Eagles, and now the Chiefs. And I think given more playoff wins and more Super Bowls, he'd be right up there, rivaling a certain GOAT from Massachusetts. How do you guys feel about Andy Reid and everything he's been able to do, adapting, and everywhere he's gone so far, he's done well, and he's taken you guys to 5 straight AFC championships?
Yep, hosting 5 straight AFC championships. Nobody's ever hosted 5 conference championships in the league ever. And so I can't tell you guys. So from my early days as a Chiefs fan up until 2013, where Andy Reid came, we were a laughing stock in many respects. We didn't win that much. We were able to have some winning seasons here or there, but we did not have the ability to put together consistent success. And you could just tell from what Randy Reid did from day one coming into this organization, bringing the people that he brought with him from Philadelphia. He understands how to build an organization from top to bottom. He understands who needs to be in place. He understands the communication that needs to be in place. He understands how the front office moves have to marry the coaching staff ability to get these players ready day in, day out. I can't say enough about it. The fact that you go from a 2-win team to automatically winning double digits and being in the playoffs year after year, and that starts way before Patrick Mahomes was on anybody else's radar back in 2013. That what Andy Reid has done to get us to this moment is spectacular. And it's his foresight that puts Brett Veach in the front office, that Brett Veach goes out there and scouts the hell out of Patrick Mahomes and annoys Andy Reid to the point where he has to draft him in 2017. And Andy Reid understands that you have a quarterback that's raw, but he has all the talent in the world. So we're going to sit him. We're going to let him learn the game a little bit and get him ready for when we need him the most. And obviously 2018 comes and everything else is history. Specifically as it pertains to this team, though, you see, like I said earlier, the ability to get all of these young guys ready. We're the 7th youngest roster in the league, man. Yeah. We have an extremely young roster. We brought in all 13 rookies coming into this team onto this roster. And the fact that he brings in a new wide receiver core, a brand new secondary, all of these things, and they all move together perfectly for Andy Reid and his coaching staff that he trusts to delegate properly throughout. I can't say enough about what Andy Reid's meant to this franchise. And you could tell, obviously, I mean, look, he's one of the best offensive minds in NFL history, simply put. And the marriage between him and Patrick Mahomes has given us historic production and historic success. And he's absolutely changed the face of our franchise moving forward.
And what I again, being an Eagles fan who got to be a part of that for 14 years, I mean, he is the greatest coach in Eagles history too, even without the Super Bowl win. I mean, have that level of success. How many NFC championship games did he go to? I mean, he is absurd when it comes to his record. The only reason why we ended up letting him go was because there was a drop-off, a hard drop-off. And our owner came flat out and said, look, the level of play hasn't been there. Like all the things, Dmac, that you mentioned of developing players and putting a roster together, it all kind of faded out. What ended up costing him was when he lost the locker room and the players stopped responding. It was just kind of time for him to go. It's not for me an ill will thing. Like I don't like with Chip Kelly. I wish ill on Chip Kelly. I wish ill on that man because he blew up a team. Anybody that trades away Deshaun Jackson and LaShawn McCoy does not understand football.
Absolutely.
I think
Andy Reid, I wished him well. I wanted him to win the Super Bowl that he did. I don't want him to win this weekend. But it was time for him to go, and for him to get, I mean, I don't even think it was like 48 hours before he was already the Chiefs head coach.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was the right thing. He is a incredible NFL head coach. And John, like you mentioned, if he wins one or two more Super Bowls, he's up there with that, Belichick conversation. Now, Belichick's level of dominance is married specifically to Tom Brady. So you start to have that same conversation with Andy Reid, where he had all the success with McNabb. Now he's having the success with Mahomes. He had the success with Brett Favre as the assistant. So he's the successful one. If Belichick goes out and wins another Super Bowl, then you get to say great things about Belichick.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think that's a beautiful. No, go ahead, Barry.
No, Dmac, go ahead. Man.
No, I was just gonna say it's funny you mentioned obviously the Mahomes of it all. I think that coming into the Chiefs was a new lease on life for Andy Reid in many ways. I think he found a new challenge for him to kind of renew his love of football. But as far as Mahomes, I think when he kind of saw what he had with him, talent wise, it was finding his quarterback spiritual animal. Like he was just like, I love this man so much. I get to work with this incredible talent. And I think that you see a guy that understands so much about offensive football and how to manipulate defenses, and now has every single tool in the toolbox from a quarterback perspective to try and do that. And I think he just enjoys every single day coming into work of figuring out how I can break defenses now that I have the ultimate, weapon here at the quarterback position. So I think that Mahomes, after the Kansas City opportunity gave him a new lease on life, it only exceeded, his excitement for the game. And so I can't say enough about the partnership that him and Reid have right now.
No, absolutely. I'm totally with you guys. Like Andy Reid is an amazing and outstanding head coach in this league. One of the best coaches, to ever coach in the NFL, and and it's accomplished a lot. I know he only has the one, Super Bowl win, but his teams are always in the playoffs and always contending and competing for a championship, and always, one of the last teams standing, year in and year out. That's with, the exception of what Chip said, the, end of his time in Philly, they weren't really, doing, as well. But with, other than that, he's definitely had, consistency in terms of being able to, maintain that, that success that he's had with the Eagles and with the Chiefs as well. Now, what I wanted to ask you guys is, what are the keys to your teams, winning this game? What do they need to be able to do to, win the Lombardi Trophy, and what's going to be the X factor, for your teams in this game?
Well, I'll start off, from an offensive perspective, a key for us is understanding that there is a level of balance that needs to be had here. Obviously, the Eagles' defense in general is extremely good. Their defensive line rotation is deep, and they have a lot of talent there. The way that we were able to attack some of the best league's offenses this year was understanding of how to keep them off balance, both with the pass and the run, using her heavy personnel sets, whether it's 3 tight ends, 2 tight ends, to get after them in the run and create mismatches for Travis Kelce off of them and our tight ends as well. We've been very successful with that. We were number 1 in EPA per play and play action passes. Understanding to get into those fortunate situations. Specifically, you want to attack the second level of the Eagles defense. You want to make it hard for them to pin their ears back and come after you, because they have a very good defensive line. They will take advantage of that. So from an offensive perspective, keep them off balance, continue to mix up your looks, stay ahead of schedule, continue to move the ball. From a defensive perspective, obviously, when it comes to Philadelphia Eagles offense, it's all about the run. This defensive line has played better over the back half of the schedule. Adding Brandon Williams has been really good for our run game. Willie Gay and Nick Bolton have to have an amazing game from the linebacker perspective. Those guys have to be physical, which they have done in the past, specifically against really good run teams. That has to continue if they want to stop what is the league's best rushing attack, bar none, because their ability with that offensive line to do a lot of creative things and the fact that they have a plus advantage in Jalen Hurts' legs, you have to be disciplined there and fill your gaps correctly. After that, obviously A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are two exceptional wide receivers. They are going to be able to attack accordingly. This young secondary that played so well as it did last week has got to step up again this week. As far as an X factor, look, I could point to a million different things on this team. The reality of the situation is my X factor is simple. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, those guys have to be the all-pro superstars that they are. If they're able to do that as they were at times against the Bengals, we'll get out of there with the win. Those guys are the heart and soul of this team. When they show up, this team acts totally different. It's a different level of swagger. It's a different level of expectation. Those guys, when they're rolling, this team is going to keep steamrolling guys. So as long as those three guys show up, I feel good about our chances.
So I'm listening to the things you're saying, and I've seen, every Eagles game, and I know, so defensively, right? Jonathan Gannon is our biggest weakness, right? Our defensive coordinator, because he plays so far off the ball and has his guys play so far off the ball. So the way that the Chiefs are successful is if they get the ball out quick, because that neutralizes our destructive defensive line, which, and no one's mentioned it yet, Dmac Suh is a backup on our defensive line. That's how deep our D line is. Dmac Suh, one of the best players in NFL history, is a backup. So is Linval Joseph. So our D line is so stacked. But if Mahomes is able to get the ball out quick, that's big. We have the best cornerback duo in football, not even close competition, with Bradbury and Slay. The Chiefs have injuries at the wide receiver position. Mecole Hardman is not playing in the Super Bowl. So I look at the way that we were able to, yes, Brock Purdy wasn't able to physically throw the ball because he blew his elbow in 17 different directions. But Deebo Samuel, not important. George Kittle, not important. Now we're talking about Travis Kelce and not much else. So if we can stop Travis Kelce, yes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not going to dominate this Eagles team. Let's just call it like it is. We are the number 2 best defense in the NFL behind the number 1 best defense, which was the 49ers, and we hung up over 30 on them. So it's going to be a shootout as far as that. If we let this game be a shootout, that's where the problem is. Our X factor, the way we win is defensively. If we can play the defense that we have played all season, it's going to be another one of these blowout games, because offensively, the Eagles are going to control the clock with the best offensive line in football, with Miles Sanders, who can score and break one, with Boston Scott, who can score and break one, with Kenny Gainwell, who can score and break one, Dallas Goedert, with Devontae Smith, with Quez Watkins, with A.J. Brown, with Jalen Hurts. We have so many offensive weapons. So if one thing isn't working, if they're able to stop one thing, we've got 5 other things that we're going to hit you with. And that's where I really like the way that Sirianni and Steichen coach, because they do very quickly realize how this game's going to go, and they make the necessary adjustments. It's all going to come down to, can the Eagles stop Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce? If the answer is yes, the Eagles will be able to put in Gardner Minshew in the fourth quarter. That's how high up we're going to be.
God, I hear you.
How about the fact that Gardner Minshew was the second best quarterback in the NFC Championship game this past week?
It's crazy.
I know, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. That is mind-boggling, to say the least. It's astonishing. It really is. I just had a couple quick comments to say as far as what you guys said. I think Dmac, for you, another X factor would be, we talked about, I know Tripp just mentioned, as banged up as the Kansas City wide receiving corps is, who's gonna step up? Like who's gonna be that guy that when the defense is focused on Travis Kelce and trying to take him away, and is covering him tightly and stuff. Like, who does Pat Mahomes trust in those when they need to be able to convert those big plays and keep the chains and the sticks moving? Like, who's he, gonna go to when it matters the most, when he needs someone to step up and, and make plays and, and be able to score points and put
points up on the board.
Put points on the board, right? just wanted to ask you who, you know what I'm saying, who do you see as, you know, being, you know, those receivers or receiver that's going to be able to make those kind of plays for that offense?
Certainly. And look, oh, sorry, go ahead.
What happened to Juju Smith-Schuster, man?
Yeah, so obviously, like you guys said, the wide receiver injuries are a concern. Kadarius Toney, he banged up his ankle, which, you know, Kadarius Toney's ankles are obviously a storyline. Juju Smith,
his hands are a storyline too.
Juju Smith-Schuster, his knee got banged up. That's why he didn't come back in the second half. I expect both of those guys to play. What I'll say specifically as it pertains to the wide receiver core, MVS, he had a huge game against the Bengals. His length, his speed, he was able to be effective on a multitude of occasions. This team, the way that Andy Reid schemes things up, he's going to get guys open. That's just the way he operates. He's going to get them open, especially in the short to intermediate areas of the field. He understands how to put these guys in correct positions. We've had Sky Moore make huge plays. We've had Justin Watson make huge plays. We've had MVS, we've had Kadarius Toney. We've had, obviously, Juju Smith-Schuster consistently. And I'll say this also specifically, he understands that it's not just about the wide receivers. He's not going to go out there in 11 personnel and just try to beat you, you know, man on man, give you digs and corners. He understands that he can use these guys all effectively. He can use the heavy personnel with Jody Fortson and Noah Gray. He can use the guys out of the backfield and Pacheco and Jet McKinnon, who are excellent at getting those hitting yardage out of the backfield when they're catching the passes. So the wide receiver core is the wide receiver core. What I'll say specifically for them, they know that they're not going to all of a sudden have 7 targets at 150 yards.
Right.
They're going to be able to pick their spots. What I saw from MBS was something that I did never expect. He was able to be effective at the short intermediate. We had him on orbit motion, going out there, catching quick bubble screens and still running up the field effectively. Andy Reid understands that every wide receiver can be used to their strengths, but they have to be used in certain ways as well to open those things up. I think if the Eagles defense wants to come out and play a lot of soft coverages and they want to bracket Kelsey, they will pick him apart because that's what Mahomes has learned. That's why Mahomes is a better quarterback than he was in 2018 or 2019 because he's patient. He takes underneath stuff. He understands how to methodically go down the field. He will take those underneath routes. And if it gets to a point in which the Eagles get too aggressive, there will be shots to be had, as it was against the Niners with MVS over the top, as we've done throughout the season at certain times with Justin Watson as well. I'm excited for what this team is going to look like, specifically on Sunday, from the perspective of I know that they have a good matchup with Kelsey, and I know that they want to take advantage of the aggressiveness that the Eagles hopefully will have to show in the fourth quarter. That being said, I do expect a shootout because that Eagles offense is very good and varied.
Now, my question is, because we haven't heard much about it from here, how is Pat Mahomes' ankle?
Yeah, so the funny thing about it is I don't know what exactly Patrick Mahomes is made out of. Like, you know, human beings, you know, we have bones and ligaments and all those. I have no idea what he's made out of.
Made out of Jello.
I don't know. The things that this man could do on a general basis when he's healthy, and the fact that these things just don't affect him somehow, I don't know. He was moving around just fine at the AFC Championship game. Obviously, he was a little hobbled in the second half, but we saw that when he needed it, he found the juice to get that last first down to set him into field goal position. What I'll say is this: I think that he's going to be a little bit more limited to the pocket than he usually is, but he understands, again, he knows how to get the ball out where he needs to. He understands his pocket movement, and he can get to it when he needs to. So I don't think that the Mahomes ankle aspect is going to be that big of a storyline as far as the Super Bowl is concerned.
I mean, it's going to be a huge storyline because we only have like 30 other storylines to talk about. Like you mentioned in the second half. You mentioned in the second half of the AFC Championship. How about the fact that he's going to play the first half, all ready to go, adrenaline, and then Rihanna is going to play for 47 minutes.
Right, yeah.
And then his ankle's going to seize up, but he's not even going to be able to walk in the second half.
But then again, as we all know, Rihanna's voice has healing properties, so he'll be just fine.
Listen, man.
That's a good one. I like that one, bro.
Patrick will be just fine. You know, he's following a script, so
yeah. So of course, no.
They got a script going on. So
both one seeds make the Super Bowl, clearly scripted. We understand how these things go.
Seriously.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know, I think, you know, it's time for you guys to give us some score predictions. You know, well, what's the score going to be? You know, give teams take this thing.
I'll go first since I'm the visiting team. Like I said, I think this is going to be a little bit of high scoring game. I think that this Eagles offense is going to be able to move the ball. Our defense is going to give up rushing yards. It's going to give up some things through the air. I think that there is going to be a time within this game in which Jalen Hurts is going to have to drop back on a consistent basis and beat this team. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. I'll be honest with you guys. I think that he's had an exceptional season. I want to see him tested in those moments. All that being said, I think that this Chiefs offense will move the ball just fine. They will be able to take advantage of these moments. I think Andy Reid is going to have, his standard 2 to 3, little trick plays that he pulls out for certain circumstances to work on the grandest stage. I think we get a 34-27 game in which the Chiefs go home with their second Lombardi trophy in 4 years.
All right.
Okay.
So your numbers are close. Your numbers are close. I'll give you respect for at least knowing that much. I do have the winning team having 34. I have the defeated team coming up with 24. I got a 10-point victory where the Philadelphia Eagles will take home their second Lombardi trophy in 5 years. 34-24. Philly.
So, man. Bear, do you have a last question for these guys?
Yes. So just a quick comment before I get to the last question. I think, for the Eagles defense, they gotta see too many teams give Travis Kelce a free release and not jam him and just let him get right into his route and get up the field too easily. So I think for, the Eagles on Sunday, they gotta, you know what I'm saying? I know y'all usually, like you said, give the receivers and the tight end space and stuff, but particularly on Travis Kelce, you might, want to be physical and jam him and, and play a little bump and run and mix up the coverage and not let him get too comfortable and too many free releases. For sure. And then that D-line has to get pressure on Pat Mahomes as, what they've been able to do the majority of the season. They got to, really, make him uncomfortable and get after him and really get to him early and often. And you guys are certainly more than, capable of doing that, particularly guys like Hassan Reddick, who was, spectacular in the, NFC championship game and has had a really good season. So certainly he's got to step up as long as the rest of the D-line as far as being able to get, pressure on Mahomes and, and not, let him get too comfortable in the pocket. So my last question is, this will actually be 2 questions. So who do you guys have favorite for, Super Bowl MVP? And I also want to get your quick thoughts on, the Kyrie Irving trade, particularly Dmac, since I know you're a Nets fan and you follow the Nets. So I definitely want to get your, opinion and perspective on that.
Sure. You want to go first, Chip, for the Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah. So for the Super Bowl MVP,
yeah.
we know what it is. It's whoever, whatever quarterback wins. So it's going to be Jalen Hurts or it's going to be Pat Mahomes. It is at this point just a quarterback award, unless somebody rolls through with a defensive touchdown. Even Adam Vinatieri didn't get Super Bowl MVP for kicking game-winning field goals. Like, it's a quarterback award. So either Pat Mahomes or Jalen Hurts is going to be the Super Bowl MVP. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Chip. And look, we both think that points are going to be put up on the board. So that means the quarterbacks are probably going to have a good game. Offenses for both of these teams are really varied. They like to use all their weapons. They will use them, diligently. I don't think anybody's going to explode for like a 200-yard game or anything. Defensive side of the ball, both these quarterbacks take care of the ball on a consistent basis. Jalen Hurts had one of the lowest, interception rate, turnover rates in general. Patrick Mahomes understands how to take care of the ball. I don't expect any defensive guys win the Super Bowl MVP, so my pick would also be, whoever quarterback wins. As far as the Kyrie Irving trade, it was hilarious. I was chilling. I was chilling yesterday. I was like, oh wow, this is going to go down, isn't it? So yeah, he's in Dallas. As far as Kyrie Irving is concerned, look, he's one of my favorite players in the NBA. I love watching him play basketball. I think him and Luka are going to be a really fun partnership to watch. Him and James Harden worked really well together while they were in Brooklyn. I expect it to be just that type of chemistry between them. Luka is going to have somebody that actually takes the pressure off of him for once, which is going to be very important for him. I'm going to be interested to see how far they can take that Dallas Mavericks team. From Nets perspective, this is the unfortunate downside of when egos take over the front office and the ownership. And that I think that unfortunately this window that we have with KD and Kyrie has suffered too much from that over the back half, as well as some unluckiness, certainly from an injury and obviously the COVID perspective and stuff. But just specifically from a front office perspective, Sean Marks and Joe Tsai, their egos have gotten the best of them from trying to do what's best for this franchise to win a championship. And unfortunately, it seems like that window that we have had here is going to close shut yesterday, unfortunately. But I still will root for my Nets. Kyrie Irving, I wish him the best of luck in Dallas.
And as a Sixers fan, I'm very glad that he is no longer in conference and division with us. I mean, I forget which sportscaster said it. I want to say it was Stephen A, but I could be wrong. But somebody said that Kyrie Irving is one of, if not the worst teammate in NBA history. And I kind of think back on this, right? Where he complained his way out of Cleveland. He complained his way out of Boston. He does the stuff with the COVID stuff. He has the stuff with some of his views that he shared that got him suspended from the team. He's got the injury stuff. Now he's complained his way out of Brooklyn. I mean, it's hard to stand up for the guy. And Dmac, you mentioned he's one of your favorite players, but it is definitely, from an outsider, hard to stand up for a guy who seems to always have drama surrounding him everywhere he goes, whether that is perceived drama, whether that is self-inflicted drama. It seems that everywhere he goes, he brings some sort of negative attention. And I know he does great things too. Like I'm aware of the good that he does, but the narrative out there is that he is this awful teammate. This is coming from an organization that just got rid of Ben Simmons. So
you're welcome, by the way, for taking that. You're welcome.
Thank you. So can we get Seth Curry back, please?
No, look, I understand where it is from the outsider perspective. What I'll say is this: I think that a lot of these issues, certainly, it's not an all or nothing thing. Kyrie Irving has his hand in some of these things. Certainly, he's not always the best with the media. He's not necessarily the best at handling these situations. But from a Kyrie Irving perspective, every single teammate that he's played with says great things about him. Marcus Smart does. Jaylen Brown does, Jason Tatum does. I've seen the Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton things that they've talked about, even all the way back. Obviously, LeBron wanted him back on the Lakers, Tristan Thompson, and those things alike. So Kyrie Irving obviously has a hand in some of these things, specifically from a Nets perspective. I felt like there were a lot of terms in which this organization did not choose what was best for this team to win, and then chose what was best for the team to have control over the situation. And sometimes, specifically when it comes to a sport like the NBA or an organization like the NBA, the players are sometimes, you have to cede that control to them. And I don't think that they were willing to do that. And ultimately the time ran out on what this window was.
Well, and it's interesting that you mentioned that, because you look at the NBA and like you look at like baseball, you have all these players. You look at football, you've got a 53-man roster. Hockey, nobody gives a shit about. But you look at basketball and you've got 12 to 13 guys. You've got bona fide superstars. It is a players organization, right? You've got guys who you mentioned with one name, first names only. You say LeBron, you say MJ, you say Kyrie. Like there are guys who go by one name because they are so important. So the fact that the organization isn't willing to work with Kyrie Irving in order to make it work for the good of the team says a lot to me about the Brooklyn organization, because you still have KD, somebody who does need the support in order to win, and he doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because this is a thing that everybody around the NBA is paying attention to. Young stars, old stars, all of them. And this was a chance to show that this is an organization that when you bring two massive free agents to you, we know what needs to happen to get you guys in position to win. It's not a great trial run that you've given out as a blueprint for future trying to, attract those stars. And so now, in a lot of respects, you may try and hold on to Kevin Durant, you may not. But whatever it is, it feels like you've taken 4 steps backward from an organizational perspective in that pursuit of your first championship.
Can we play GM for a second? Because I know the trade deadline is Thursday.
Yeah.
Some big news coming out of Philly. Furkan Korkmaz would like to trade.
I saw he requested a trade.
So I would like to offer up. I would like to offer up KD for Furkan Korkmaz. What say you?
I saw him request a trade, and I almost fell out of my chair. I was like, wait a second. I know I'm reading. Somebody had a typo here. Clearly, they meant somebody else. There's no way that No, I was like, Ballsack Sports, did they put this out? I was like, there's no way. There is no way he just requested
Turkish
a
Wonder
trade.
Bread would like a trade, please. So again, I ask you, can we trade the Turkish Wonder Bread for KD straight up? No holds barred. Let's do it.
You throw Embiid in there, you've got a deal.
I'm gonna say no on that.
Would y'all take Harden back?
Oh my God.
Yo, when I first seen that, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy requesting a trade? Who the hell are you to be requesting a trade? Like, I follow the NBA like pretty, extensively, and I don't even know who the guy is. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he's like the 13th guy on our bench at this point.
Other teams, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? I've never seen him play before. Like, he looks like one of those guys that only plays during garbage time.
Yeah.
He wasn't always that way. Like, that's happened recently with Doc Rivers' new set rotations that he loves. But he was a contributing member. His minutes have just plummeted this season. He's only appeared in 25 games. His numbers are crazy low. But again, he's like the 13th guy on our bench. That's like Doc Rivers' butt pad that elevates him above everybody else, right? Because if you look along, all of his coaches are like down a level. He's got a butt pad, so he's elevated above everybody else. That has more value to the Sixers right now than Furkan Korkmaz.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man.
Sounds about right.
Man.
I think that says it all right there, man.
Yep.
Oh, John, I just want to get quick thoughts on the Kyrie Irving trade. I know we got to wrap it up, but just if you have any quick thoughts on that Kyrie Irving traded to the
like Dmac was saying, man, I think there's a lot, that goes into this situation. This was actually the one time where, you know what, I'm like, I can understand why Kyrie asked for a trade. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with everything that he just went through with, that whole thing he was posting, and, we don't need to go all over all that. But to me, I'm surprised he didn't ask for one a lot sooner. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, like it or not, he has leverage, and there's really nothing those guys could do. Either trade me and get something for me, or I'm leaving you with nothing. So, I mean, am I surprised about this? Not at all. I think he waited for the perfect time. He came back, worked on his reputation a little bit, and then he's like, I think I've had enough. Let me get the fuck out of here. That's exactly what happened, because he started getting popular again, and then boom, I want to trade, so I don't think too much of it, man. I think Kyrie is somebody that's always searching, and I think the ownership is kind of petty. I'm like, I don't understand what games you guys are playing here. But when you, like you said, egos, man, when egos get into it, the whole situation about Joe Tsai talking about, the objective was to keep him away from the Lakers. I'm like, dude, so
that's not how you do
really
business,
worried about the fucking team, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Now I'm hearing Dinwiddie might not even stay with the Nets. So I'm like, what are you thinking? So
right. What are we doing here?
A lot of work here, and I think it's a lot of immaturity going around, with the way Joe has handled a lot of things this year period, man. And Kyrie's gonna do Kyrie, and he's doing it again.
But think about what you're saying here, right? You're mentioning the ownership, but you look at the national narrative, and and the ownership hasn't been mentioned as the problem
at all.
Mhm.
so they're
all.
saying it's a players league, therefore it's Kyrie's fault.
Kyrie. Yep.
No. I think Joe's messed this thing up. From the time he came out, tweeted that bullshit. It's like, dude, keep that shit in house. Now you have a whole
Yeah.
bro.
going into your own team, like it's your fault, brother. You know what I'm saying? And I can't see Kevin Durant talking about, well, just
I want to stick around here.
Like, oh no, dude, you fucking go. Okay.
Furcon. Trade him for Furcon.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
With that said, man, Chip and Dmac, man, like I said, you guys are on a Massachusetts podcast, and it is crazy we're doing a podcast like this. And kudos to you guys for coming on and having a great conversation. And I respect both your teams, even though I hate both of them.
Wait, but who do you hate least? Who do you hate least right now?
Dmac, man, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
He's being compared to Tom Brady now, and I'm like, I don't like that. I really don't like that.
That's the best compliment I could ever hear. That's the best compliment I could ever hear.
Shit, man. And it's like, dude, that guy's fucking scary, man. So it's like, like you guys said, you hate the people that are winning the most. And right, I think a lot of New England are Eagles fans. But as a sports fan, I just want to see a great fucking game, man.
Yeah.
I want to see a game maybe go down to fucking, last minute field goal, whatever it takes. I just want to see a really good game. Give us a good product.
Who you got, John? Who you got?
I mean, given the way that everything's been going, man, and the way Jalen Hurts and, has had that offense. And like Chip was saying, man, against the 49ers, Brock Purdy looked shook. That first
scared.
He didn't want to go back in the game.
Holy shit, dude.
Scared.
That defense was fucking coming. And I'm like, if the Chiefs don't stop that, man, it's going to be a lot of problems. But I can see either team winning. But, I think the Eagles are going to take it, in my opinion.
I respect it.
I like it.
Yeah, I'll go with the Eagles as well. I think, just real quick, both sides I know you're overmatched 3-on-1, man.
I'm good. Look, I'm comfortable. Everybody was picking the Bengals last week. That's
right.
Good
I was just gonna say that.
Good for me. I'm good. I'm comfortable.
It's cool. The Philadelphia Eagles have an underdog line that you can purchase items from. So feel free to partake.
Hey man, the script says the Chiefs are winning.
It's already done. Did you see the score release? They already released the score.
Like
30, I swear to God,
or something like that.
37-31, I think it is. I swear to God, if that's the final score, I might be done watching football, because if it's actually a script, like that's crazy. That's crazy.
Right.
I think
Super Bowl, that would be crazy and insane.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I want from you guys is, you guys run podcasts as well. Tell our audience, what your perspective podcast, the name and how they can get to you guys.
So we're a Philadelphia-based podcast. We're all about the birds and the AAT Sports Network. I'm Chip at Chip for the Birds. We do live shows every week. We also have a couple shows within that network, including Opening the Vault, where we interview former players. We've talked to players like Dave Akers and Trey Thomas, things like that. We have a lot of really great shows on the network. I run a show called Chip and Drip, where we take that spinning wheel idea and we spin a wheel full of topics. And then me and my buddy JD, we literally spend time talking about whatever the wheel decides. So again, Chip for the Birds and AAT Birds is the Eagles, Philadelphia Eagles, soon to be Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, best podcast out there.
And I'm out here. I'm at Mac Wake Media, as well as Dmac Wake 316 on Twitter. I host Friday Spaces every single Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. We come in there, talk Chiefs mostly, and then also my podcast, Mac Wake Meter, we'll be doing a little bit of off-season previews after the Super Bowl, obviously. We'll do an NBA trade deadline review as well, looking back on one of the biggest deals. You'll hear my full breakdown of the Kyrie Irving trade, obviously. And as well, I'll do a little bit of baseball preview, because that is my first love as a Cardinals fan. So we'll be going through that
Nice.
as well. Yeah. So
I'm a high school umpire, so I have a love of baseball. So like I don't know, Dmac. You and I, after this game, we might become pretty good friends.
We gotta talk because look, when the spring comes around, and I just get that itch to go out to a baseball game, have a beer, and enjoy it. So that's my time of year, man.
I mean, and the Phillies were just in the World Series, so like that's good. The Union almost won a championship, so that's pretty good. Like it's a good time to live in Philly right now. The Sixers are going to be in there. You're like, it's pretty cool.
You guys getting past the second round? Of course. Thank you guys for having me, for sure.
Oh yeah,
dog.
this was
great,
awesome.
Man. Had a great time, John and Barry. This is awesome, man.
Listen, if
no doubt.
Given our schedule next year, if we're playing you guys, the Patriots, I'm talking about, you guys are gonna have to come back here and meet up with us. And so
this is fun. I love talking sports. No, I'm just saying I love talking sports. Like anytime, send me an invite anytime. I'm here.
Same here, man. Anything, I'm ready.
We'll do one last thing. Is I got good news. Dmac, I seen that schedule for the Patriots for next year. We're playing the Chiefs.
All right, that's good then.
So that means we have another week and another episode where we can bring you back on the show.
Absolutely. I'm going to have you guys on to preview a little Patriots season as well on the podcast. Definitely, man. Look forward to it.
Of course. Absolutely.
I can't wait for the Mac Jones Patrick Mahomes matchup. Mac Jones versus Pat Mahomes.
Absolutely, you guys, man. You guys have a good night, man. We'll catch up with y'all later. All right, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
good talking to you guys.
Right.
Yeah, it was great meeting y'all. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. This was
absolutely, man.
So much fun, and hope you guys enjoy the Super Bowl on Sunday. Good luck to both of your teams.
Appreciate it. Will do.
Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
All right. Well said.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
You guys have a good night. All right.
Yep,
absolutely.
Right,
you too, man.
Take care. We'll be
peace out, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
No problem.
Yeah, man. And there you have it. That was Chip and Dmac, both from the Eagles and the Kansas City fan base, great guys, obviously. We want to thank them again. Make sure you guys are following them, on their social media platforms and, give them a listen because obviously they know what they're talking about. Make sure you guys are catching up with us. We're at ProFan Sports on everything except for Instagram, and that's at ProFans_sports. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. There's a black button at the bottom of the video. Make sure you click that, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, whatever, man. That's the best way you can support us. So until next time, man, Vlad, we missed you. We'll catch you on the next podcast. We'll catch y'all on the next podcast as well. We out.
Peace. Have a good week, everyone. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time.